everyone, and welcome to the 5th episode of the Anti-Natal News Podcast, happenings in the development of the anti-natalist world for the month of May 2021, brought to you by Anti-Natalism International. Keep in mind, due to time, not all news that happens every month can be reported on within the show, or all links added to description boxes, so make sure to follow the link below to the Anti-Natalism International website to see a far more in-depth collection of links to everything. Episodes of the Anti-Natal News Podcast are generally uploaded to the Anti-Natalism International YouTube channel and will continue to be in the future. However, as my YouTube channel, Forever Wolf Films, was where the show originally began years ago, I will occasionally upload them here as well. Before I begin today's episode, I would like to take a moment to wish a fond farewell to fellow founder of Anti-Natalism International and co-host of the Anti-Natal News Podcast, Lawrence Anton. Lawrence has left Anti-Natalism International and the podcast, but remains a great friend, and I wish him the absolute best. He's given so much to these projects and worked so hard, and it's been a great pleasure to work with you over these last few months, Lawrence, and I'm excited to see everything that you produce in the future. I'll speak more about an upcoming event that Lawrence is planning in just a little bit, but please make sure to subscribe to him on YouTube and check out the new website for his and Lath's book, An Anti-Natalist Handbook, below. And now, on to the antenatal news for May 2021. So first, let's take a look at the new articles in English this month. There were other articles in other languages. We'll get to those later. Sadly, there was nothing of great substance this month. Lots of little articles that sort of casually mentioned the word antinatalism here and there once or twice. You can find links to all of them on the website, some of them below. The one that I do want to just quickly point to was from the MerriamWest.com website. Not sure if I'm pronouncing the name of that right. It was an article called Mary Harrington, Family Formation for the 2020s. Mary Harrington is not somebody that I was previously familiar with. She's a columnist for another website called Unheard, and apparently she writes about a lot of sort of gender issues. In this article, there's some commentary on the fact that, birth rates are declining, and Mary Harrington is quoted in this article as saying, "The long-term problem here is that if your feminism becomes associated with anti-natalism, sooner or later, it's going to trigger a backlash, and that backlash is not going to look very nice for women." So this comment was of great interest to me because, I think that antinatalism is this future gigantic topic within feminism. It hasn't quite happened yet. It's sort of very similar to sort of what you see with the vegan movement and antinatalism. Obviously, it's, many of us consider it to be virtually the same subject, veganism and antinatalism, but the two communities, for a long time were very separated, and now that's starting to change. You see a lot more antinatalist commentary within the vegan movement. That has not yet happened with feminism, but it has all of this tremendous potential too, and I'm excited and terrified to see what will happen once that starts to happen in earnest. So I was just, I was interested in what she had to say here. I don't really know how to comment on it beyond that, but an interesting take. So definitely go check out this article. Definitely go check out the other little articles that I have linked to on the website. And now moving on to our next section. Okay, and now the time has come to talk about the new academic papers and journal articles that came out in English for the month of May 2021. But first, one that apparently I missed last month. So this came out in April. It is Risk, Responsibility, and Procreative Asymmetries by Rivka Weinberg, none other than Rivka Weinberg. And it is available on oxfordhandbooks.com. I'm going to read the abstract now. The author argues for a theory of responsibility for outcomes of imposed risk, based on whether it was permissible to impose the risk. When one tries to apply this persuasive model of responsibility for outcomes of risk imposition to procreation, which is a risk-imposing act, one finds that it doesn't match one's intuition about responsibility for outcomes of procreative risk. This mismatch exposes a justificatory gap for procreativity, namely, that procreation cannot avail itself to the shared vulnerability to risk and other constraints, to the balance one is forced to strike between one's interest in being free to impose risk on others and one's interest in being safe from harm resulting from a risk imposed by others, which serves to justify risk imposition generally. Whereas most risk impositions involve trade-offs of liberty and security among people who share the vulnerabilities associated with the taking, imposing, or being constrained from imposing risks, procreation involves the introduction of people into that position of vulnerability in the first place. Thus, when one procreates, one imposes risks in the absence of the shared vulnerability that usually serves as a justification for risk imposition. Procreative risk may not be wrongfully imposed, but they aren't permissively imposed in a manner fully comparable to other permissibly imposed risks. This makes procreation an unique form of risk imposition, with unique implications for its justification and for one's responsibility for its outcomes. This insight can help explain several puzzling procreative asymmetries. So, very interesting. Please make sure to go check that out. The next article, which indeed did come out in May 2021, is called A Dilemma for Benatar's Asymmetry Argument by Fumataki Yoshizawa at Ataka University. And here is the abstract for that paper. In this paper, I show that David Benatar's asymmetry argument for anti-natalism leads to a dilemma. In Chapter 2 of his book, Better Never to Have Been, Benatar claims that there is an axiological asymmetry between harms and benefits that explains 4 prevalent asymmetries. Based on the axiological asymmetry, he defends the anti-natalist conclusion that we should not have children. The 4 prevalent asymmetries to be explained are moral duties, reasons, attitudes, or feelings concerning life as a whole. However, Benatar explains this by applying the axiological asymmetry to parts of life, such as pains and pleasures. I find a serious gap here. While 2 ways are available to bridge this gap, a dilemma arises from Benatar's asymmetry arguments. The axiological asymmetry is not supported because it cannot explain the 4 prevalent asymmetries, or else it cannot lead to the antinatalist conclusion. A number of philosophers have already criticized Benatar's asymmetry argument, mainly questioning its assumptions. In this paper, I contend that there is no good reason to agree with his argument, even if all its explicit assumptions are accepted. So this was a very interesting article, sort of unique. My dear friend Mark J. Maharaj did actually do a video review of it, read the whole paper live on camera, and commented on it, so I highly recommend going to check that out for further details, and link below to the article itself if you'd like to read it. One more article was released in May 2021, Do Not Go Gentle, Why the Asymmetry Does Not Support Anti-Natalism by Andreas Mogensen, Global Priorities Institute, Oxford University. And here is that abstract. According to the asymmetry, adding lives that are not worth living to the population makes the outcome pro tanto worse. But adding lives that are well worth living to the population does not make the outcome pro tanto better. It has been argued that the asymmetry entails the desirability of human extinction. However, this argument rests on a misunderstanding of the kind of neutrality attributed to the addition of lives worth living by the asymmetry. A similar misunderstanding is shown to belie Benatar's case for anti-natalism. So I did not get to read this particular article, but it is available for you to go check out. Links below. And now moving on to the new anti-natalism related books for May 2021. Yes, some exciting ones this month. First, we'll be talking about a libertarian case for anti-natalism, unfortunately only available on a Kindle edition. I found this on Amazon.com by Max Freiheit. I am very excited to read this, actually, and I think a lot of you will be as well. I have not got to start it yet, so I can't say anything about the quality of it or the contents of it, really, but I've seen quite a number of people over the years really wanting a book about anti-natalism from a libertarian perspective. So, this is great. This is the first thing like that I've ever seen produced. And yeah, once again, just very much looking forward to reading it. Something very interesting I also found on Amazon this month, something called Bioethics Learned from Animation, Clone Designer, Baby, Anti-Natalism, Japanese edition. Yes, so this is something by somebody named June Mizushima. And again, it's only available on Kindle. I did not know what to make of this in any way, shape, or form. I happened to ask if there was any more information about it on the AAPJ Discord server. And somebody by the name of Morioka was kind enough to provide some more information about it. They said, this book is written as an easy-to-understand introduction to bioethics and used 2 anime works as a basis for explaining what bioethical issues are lurking in modern society. And apparently this was taken from the abstract, and the author is a scholar of bioethics and is studying anti-natalism, and it's a brief but good work. So that's really all the information I have about it. I did actually get it on Kindle, and I looked through it, and it's really interesting. I don't really know what else to say about it beyond that. But if you do happen to get it and check it out, please let me know what you think about it, and of all the works that we'll be discussing today. So yes, very interesting find there. The second anti-natalism related book by somebody by the name of Ismael Leandri Vega was released last month. I do apologize for any mispronunciations of the name and also the title of the book. It's called Más abortos, menos plagas, Anti-Natalismo y el derecho al aborto, and that, as far as I know, translates to more abortions, fewer plagues, anti-natalism, and the right to abortion. This new book is available in not hard cover form, but in hard copy form, I should say. I did actually buy a copy, and it arrived just the other day. So it is in Spanish entirely. I can't read it. Again, this is the second book now that this person has written on the subject of antinatalism, so that's really cool. If you happen to know anything about the author, if you happen to know anything about this book, if you happen to go buy the book, and you'd like to tell me something about any of that, I'd be very interested to hear about it. Either contact me at antinatalnews@gmail.com and let me know, or let me know in the comments. And the final new book that was released in May 2021 is really, really, really something very incredibly special and close to my heart. It is, of course, the ABCs of Anti-Natalism coloring book, The Ethics of Procreation from A to Z, by the incredible Life Sucks, my dear friend Life Sucks, the amazing, amazing artist Life Sucks. So this is a project that he's been working on for about a year now, and it is a coloring book, and it's a coloring book that from A to Z gives sort of pictorial representations of different themes, different ideas within the subject of anti-procreation, within the subject of anti-natalism, and the artwork is just incredible. My character, the janitor, happens to be included for the letter J, janitorial duty, in this book, which I'm absolutely I can't even get over. I'm still stunned by that, and so grateful and so humbled by being included in this book. Life Sucks, of course, is also a great antinatalist YouTuber. Please go subscribe to him on YouTube. He has an Etsy where you can find things like t-shirts for the Exploring Antinatalism podcast. You can also get special editions of the ABCs of Antinatalism coloring book on his Etsy that are signed and that come with a box of crayons. There is also a digital edition of the coloring book on Lulu, so you can print it out yourself if you wish, whatever paper you'd like. If you happen to, actually get copies and color them in, definitely contact him and show them, the coloring ins that you've done. He has released his first video on the subject of this book on his YouTube channel. Mendham also made a lovely response to it. I also made a response to it on this channel, my channel, Forever Wolf Films, and it's just a masterpiece. It's an incredible achievement. I think it has, as I was saying in my video about it, I think it has a humongous potential to be a lot of people's first introduction to the subject of antinatalism. It's antinatalism taken to a medium that can appeal to anybody. And that's incredible. That's an incredible piece of activism, not only just an incredible piece of art, but an incredible piece of anti-natalist activism that Life Sucks has achieved. So I am stunned, I am thrilled, I am impressed, I just absolutely love this work, and I'm so thrilled and proud and grateful, honestly, for Life Sucks for having created this incredible work. Congratulations, Life Sucks. Links below where you can buy it in all the ways that I said. On Amazon, it is not expensive. Please go out and buy some copies. Give them out to people. I'd love to see this, be put in libraries and as many places as possible. Again, I think this has incredible potential to be a huge introduction for a lot of people to the subject of antinatalism. So once again, well done, Life Sucks. Real quick, I just wanted to point out some blogs about the subject of antinatalism. The first two probably definitely don't exclusively talk about the subject of antinatalism, but they did have at least, one post each about the subject this last month. The first was on the website or blog, actually it's a little hard to distinguish, www.lesswrong.com. It was called Restricted Anti-Natalism on Subagents by Josephine. Go check that out below. There was also something called Anti-Natalism Real Talk Philosophy Artwork on realtalkphilosophy.org. I didn't get to do too much investigating into this. It was sort of like, it seemed like sort of an introductory post to the subject of antinatalism, but it was fairly long, and it did include a lot of, artwork around the subject. So I'm pointing it out for others, certainly to go check out. It is something I would like to do a little bit of extra investigating into myself, so I should have done that already, but just reporting on it now, and we'll do that in the future. I also just wanted to point out two different blogs by two different antinatalist YouTubers, one of which I'm a little embarrassed I didn't know existed. So there is a YouTube antinatalist by the name of Metaphysical Exile, fairly new channel, excellent channel, actually has two different versions of the same channel. So one channel is in English, and then the other channel, sort of the accompanying channel, I believe is in Portuguese, I want to say. Yes, it is Portuguese. Anyway, I didn't realize that they also had a blog, and it's quite excellent. It's basically the scripts, from the videos themselves, but it's just really nice to have, it all in writing. So I definitely recommend not only the two channels, but the blog itself. Was just really thrilled to find out that there's a blog attached to the YouTube channels. I kind of wish more YouTubers did that. And the next one I wanted to point out, again, is a YouTuber, a new antinatalist YouTuber, actually, and somebody I'll mention later on when we're talking about the other new antinatalist YouTubers for the month of May 2021, and that is Cosmic Ethelist. So yes, Cosmic Ethelist, new YouTube antinatalist, is making a lot of really excellent, really very, very interesting new videos, and also has a blog where a lot of, the scripts, essentially, or the essays that accompany the videos are posted. So highly recommend that as well, the channel and the blog. Links below to everything. And now we move on to the new Anti-Natalist YouTube videos in English. Once again, for, a few months in a row now, there has been an absolute metric shit ton of new English-speaking antinatalist YouTube videos. So many great channels have produced new content this last month of May. Twaddlehood, the Lucid Antinatalist, a fairly new antinatalist YouTube channel that I really, really like. Some really great videos there. Anti-Space Natalist has continued to have live debates with people. That's really, really cool. Existential Rose Petal has continued to make content, which I love to see. Antinatalist Minimalist, Steve Brown, Lawrence Anton, Anti-Natalist MD, Meta-Ethics, No Brains in Head, Daily Negativity, Sundimmer, The Anti-Natalist Informant, Inverted Evolution, Sophieophilia, amazing channel, by the way. Definitely go check that one out. Check them all out. Never Live Evil, The School of Life. Just so many great channels that produce content. I cannot, for time's sake, talk about all of them or go into too much detail about all the videos this month or all the people involved, but and many of the links will simply not fit in the description boxes of places like YouTube videos. So if you want to see links to everything, please make sure to follow the link below in the description to the page on the Anti-Natalism International website, where you can see, the news dump, essentially, which will have links to everything. What I most wanted to focus on, of course, was the new videos by my friend Mark J. Maharaj, whose videos this month we'll be talking about, sort of sprinkled all over the place within this episode of the Antenatal News podcast this month. He produced a lot of really great videos this month, actually, mostly, live stream sessions where he reads articles or watches different videos and responds to them. And those have been fantastic. I highly recommend, if you do catch him live when he's doing one of those live streams, they're really, really, quite generously long and in-depth and a lot of fun. So highly recommend, keeping an eye on his channel and subscribing to his channel for when he does more of those. But the video that he produced this last month that I most want to speak about is, of course, the Ethel panel. So he hosted 4 Ethelists, including myself, to discuss the subject of Ethelism. Ethelism is, of course, one of the most controversial and polarizing subjects in all of anti-natalism. I, for the most part, thought that this panel was really great. It was almost 4 hours long. I think we did cover a tremendous amount of ground. Doesn't seem like very many people are quite satisfied and just continually want more, which is fine. That's just sort of the way it should be. There was certainly some disagreement even amongst us. I certainly did not agree with statements made by Leith, and we had a bit of an argument there. The participants were myself, Leith Malik Reem, fellow founder of Anti-Natalism International, Life Sucks, the author of the ABCs of Anti-Natalism, as we spoke about a little earlier ago, and Glynos, who is a well-known anti-natalist YouTuber and has produced the Road to Anti-Natalism series, as well as a lot of other, animated anti-natalist pieces that are just fantastic and much beloved by the community. So I'm not really sure what exactly to say about the video itself. I did want to make just a little bit of a comment as to the response to the video. While there are some of you out there that are interested in engaging with Ethelism on an intellectual level, a philosophical level, and a perfectly reasonable, inquisitive level, and may even hate the subject and want to push back on it, there is also a contingent of people that are harassing and engaging in all kinds of behavior and activity that, unfortunately, a lot of the rest of the antinatalist community is applauding. And I think that needs to stop. Just a couple of days ago, it was revealed that one of you out there actually went so far as to somehow manage to find and help yourself to private videos of mine and post them on your channel and all that. And, again, you can hate Ethelism, you can hate Enmendum, you can hate me, you can hate Ethelists in general. But I am sort of pleading with the antinatalist community to keep it intellectual, keep it philosophical. This really does not need to turn into character assassination and trolling, and I really don't know where this is going to end. I have received threats. I have received a lot of harassment for months now. You don't have to agree with me, but you do have to engage in modes of communication that are reasonable. And, Ethalists have not committed any crimes. We are pushing phantom buttons, as my friend Danny Thomas said just the other day. We are engaging in, admittedly, extremely controversial subjects, extremely controversial, thought experiments and whatnot, but we have not done anything wrong. And the behavior in reaction to what we're saying is starting to go into a territory that really should not be applauded by the rest of the anti-natalist community. So all of this hand-wringing about, possible bad things happening at the end of the world, and there's so much concern over that, but very, very, very little concern and self-reflection about the nefarious practices that anti-ethalists are getting themselves into. And I think that really, really needs to change. And so I will make more videos about this in the future. I will make a response to the video of myself from I want to say again, private video that was posted. And I do make a statement in there. I regret I was speaking hyperbolically. Again, I will make a separate video about that another time soon. But yes, I am not happy with the level of discourse that this subject is receiving, and I think it's extremely unfair. And quite frankly, if anybody is going to get hurt, it's probably going to be an ethalist at this point. And the community really needs to check its fucked up self about that already, and not accept this level of behavior from these people. Okay, well, moving on, let's talk about the new anti-natalist YouTube channels this month. The first one I want to bring up is a channel by the name of Reed, that's spelled R-E-E-A-A-D. Magnificent new channel. This video that they made on the subject of anti-natalism is probably going to go down as one of the best videos on the subject of the year. Just extremely well done. Beautiful, beautiful video. Highly, highly recommend this channel. Recommend them all, of course, but I was incredibly impressed by this person's output so far, and I very much hope that they will continue to make content around the subject of anti-natalism and bioethics and all of these good subjects that we love. Another channel that appeared this month was Benedictine's the Vegan. Very interesting so far. Roberto Robinski, another channel, a channel by the name of Ethel Space Ist. Really, really interesting channel, once again. A channel called Anti-Natalism Gaming. I don't know what to make of this channel just yet, but we'll see. I do like the thumbnail, I will say that. Another new channel by the name of XY. Very curious as to see where this channel sort of, how it progresses. Lovely person so far, has left some really nice comments, so welcome. And Cosmic Ethalist, who we spoke about just a little while ago. So excellent, excellent new anti-natalist YouTube channels from several different types of anti-natalists. Please go subscribe. Please go leave comments. Please thumbs up and support in whatever way you can your new anti-natalist YouTube content creators. Okay, and now moving on to new podcasts. There were actually quite a few this last month in a wide variety of languages. The Exploring Anti-Natalism podcast, my podcast with Mark J. Maharaj, of course, had 2 episodes out in May 2021. Episode 34, which was an interview with Christopher Belshaw. Sadly, this episode really didn't get as much attention as I thought it was going to. Christopher Belshaw is a very interesting person, highly controversial, so it was a little mystifying, actually. There wasn't more commentary on that one. Episode 35, of course, was an interview with Tages, one of the fellow founders of Anti-Natalism International, another excellent interview. So please go check out those episodes of Exploring Anti-Natalism, links below. I'm just going to quickly say a couple of words about all the other podcasts featuring the subject of anti-natalism real quickly. Some of these I know absolutely nothing about and really can't say much about because of the language barrier. There was one by Doba Boy, Anti-Natalism Problem or Solution. Wasn't quite sure what language this video was in, so again, if you know anything about it, let me know. There was something by the name of episode 27. I'm so sorry. I don't even know how to pronounce the name of the show, but link below to that. ATC Pop episode 5 for Dummies Anti-Natalismo. I believe that one is in Portuguese or Spanish. I'm not entirely sure. Another one that I believe is in Italian by somebody named Italio Marsili. Interesting show in Spanish called Nihilismo Sano. I actually really do wish I could understand what was going on in here, but it looks like an interesting show, period. But they certainly did an entire episode dedicated to anti-natalism. The one that I was most interested in, and I can't even begin to say the title of the show or the title of the episode or anything, but it was an entire episode of a podcast around the subject of anti-natalism in Turkish, and I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've ever seen a Turkish podcast deal with the subject of anti-natalism. So, as with many of the things that I'm covering today, if you have any information about this podcast, you can tell me anything about it. I would be really, really, really fascinated to learn more about this. It looks really interesting. So, yes, lots and lots of stuff to engage with in a lot of different languages. Go check it all out. Okay, and now on to one of my favorite subjects, the new anti-natalism music produced for May 2021. Yes, I love how much anti-natalism music is continually being produced every month, and this month was no exception. So first off, Anti-Natalism Raps and More, which is a YouTube channel, did release a couple of more songs. Loved seeing that. A musical project by the name of Sarcastrophe, I think is how you say it, did release a track called Anti-Natalism on Bandcamp, so link to that below. I don't know anything about this band, but they're called Kiro Kiro Bonito. They just released an album called Civilization 2, and apparently this album does deal with the subject of anti-natalism. I don't know that it's like it exclusively is... that anti-natalism is exclusively the subject that it deals with. It seems to deal with an array of subject matter, but they did make it very clear in an interview that they did in metalmagazine.eu that anti-natalism was a major feature of the thematic content of this album. So I've only listened to a little bit of it so far. It's not really my cup of tea, but it might be yours. So please go check that out. A Steinax, which is a brutal death metal band that I actually interviewed for the Exploring Anti-Natalism podcast, has been working on an album called Extreme Anti-Natalist Design for quite some time now. And on their Facebook page, they've been showing videos of them recording it and everything. It's been kind of exciting, seeing little bits of it getting completed. And it is just about nearly out. So you can get a copy, you can order a copy, pre-order a copy on Pathologically Explicit at bandcamp.com. And they're also offering all kinds of bundle deals on, sweatshirts and t-shirts and caps and all kinds of paraphernalia related to the album. I definitely pre-ordered a copy of the CD of the album, and I'm looking forward to getting it. And congratulations to Steinax for getting so close to completing and releasing the album. And now some news from Extinctionist Records. For those of you that don't know, Extinctionist Records is a anti-natalist record label that produces a tremendous amount of fantastic anti-natalist black metal on cassette tapes. They represent a band called Anti-Natalist that is an anti-natalist pro-mortalist band from Iraq, believe it or not. And as far as I know, it's their second album that's just been released, Slaughtering Sentient Existence. Some of that is available on the Extinctionist Records YouTube channel. Check that out, links below. In addition to this, Extinctionist, the man behind Extinctionist Records, has granted an interview, which is actually available on the Extinctionist Records website. Link below to that. It's a really interesting look into, the person behind all of these albums, all of these projects. It's so much work goes into everything that he produces. So, he doesn't grant many interviews, so very worth checking out to learning more about, the person behind all of this. Link below. In addition to that, a new anti-natalist band has appeared from Russia. I have absolutely no idea how to say the name of the album or the name of the band. As far as what Google Translate can tell me, the name of the band translates to the word oppression. I have no idea if that's correct or not. Somebody will have to tell me one way or the other. But this, I don't know whether it's a group or a single person doing it. I should say that. But it seems like there's quite a lot of content that this project is producing. The album that I will link to on YouTube is phenomenal. I love it. I can't stop listening to it. There's a lot of cool, it's black metal, but there's a lot of cool organ in it, and it just has a great feel to it. It's just a great album. So really looking forward to seeing what this project produces in the future. And this was a great find. It was one of the best finds, in my opinion, of the whole month. So definitely don't miss that. This next section is a bit of an update. It concerns a video game made by the YouTube channel Morality Without Addiction. The name of the game is Better Never to Have Won. So I believe that I covered the news about this video game in April. Sadly, at that time, I was not able to get the game to work, and I am sad to report that I still have not been able to get the game to work. However, Morality Without Addiction, first of all, I want to thank for being so kind as to, type out some instructions and to be very helpful and trying to help me to get it to work. I do apologize that I have not been able to manage to get it to operate and play it. I really would like to. But they have produced a couple of videos, showing the gameplay. And it's awesome. I just, it features music from Karima Kurma, from Cosmic Slam, and it's just very cool. It's a brilliant idea. I wouldn't even know where to begin, as far as creating something like this. So it's really quite its own, little achievement, and it's just a very unique, it's just a very unique piece of something to create around the subject of antinatalism. Like I said in April, this is actually not the first time I've seen somebody create an antinatalist game. But I really, like coloring books. I think video games have a lot of potential in being a great way, to feature this subject or to use it thematically, within them. So very cool. I mean, I just want to, if for nothing else, I just want to point out that this game does exist. It is out there. And if you can get it to work, play it. And yeah, very cool. Now we move on to events, and I will say ahead of time that actually only one of the events that I'm reporting on right now did actually happen in May. The rest are upcoming, but they're so exciting. Like, you know, it just, I had to add them to this episode because really people should know what's coming so that they can get their tickets or make plans. And yeah, you know, certain parts of the world are still struggling horribly with the coronavirus. My heart goes out to all my friends in India and in Brazil and other parts of the world that are still struggling so much. But other parts of the world, of course, you know, things are opening up again and things are getting more possible to do outside once more. So so much good stuff to report on. First, though, before we get to all the upcoming stuff, I did want to say that there was an event in May 21st, 2021, Friday, at 3 to 5 p.m. There was a live stream called A Right Response to Anti-Natalism, and it was a presentation by somebody named S. Matthew Lau. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing that last name incorrectly. This was a presentation of a new paper that he's been working on. He's at the University of Buffalo. I was able to attend this event. Mark J. Maharaj and several others were also able to attend, and it really was very interesting. I really don't want to get into details because I, as far as I know, the YouTube video of the event is coming and it will be released. I don't know when exactly it will be released, but it's really not my place to say anything about it other than what I've already said. But it was very interesting. I was glad that I attended, and it was a worthwhile experience. So I expect that next episode I'll have an update about this. But moving on to all of the upcoming events that I mentioned a little earlier. So let's begin with June 4th, which was actually yesterday, and June 12th are two separate events for the new anti-natalist organization Stop Having Kids. Yes, so some of you may already be familiar with Stop Having Kids. They are a rather extraordinary, I don't know exactly what the right word to use is, organization, collective, group of people, I believe based in Seattle, that are doing an incredible amount of anti-natalist street activism. They have a great website. Their Instagram is awesome. They're getting some great video reactions of people to their street activism. Their merch is really, really cool. I've been meaning to make a whole separate video about Stop Having Kids, and I just haven't got a chance yet, but I absolutely will. But highly, highly recommend what they're doing, and I'm very excited about what they're doing. And on their Instagram, they announced that they are actually celebrating the opening of their first, separate chapter somewhere else. I mean, they only came about, I think, in March was when they originated. So they have had a very quick progression and growth, which is fantastic. So yes, the Minneapolis chapter of Stop Having Kids is starting. I'm going to leave a link below to the Instagram post on the Stop Having Kids Instagram, where it details who you're supposed to contact and write to if you are in Minneapolis and want to be a part of the event. Obviously, the event on the 4th is already passed, but you can still make it to the event on the 12th. I don't know anything else about the event other than it exists and it's about to happen. So very, very cool. And I absolutely expect to be doing a lot more talking about and reporting on future events of Stop Having Kids in future episodes. This coming Monday, June 7th, 13:30 to 1500 CDT, I don't know what that is in GMT time, an event by the name of Is Having Children Morally Wrong is happening by Moot Points. I don't know exactly what Moot Points refers to, but it's by an organization I believe called Christian Heritage, and it is discussing anti-natalism and Christianity with Dr. David Benatar, University of Cape Town, and Dr. Matthew Lee Anderson from Baylor University. And this is the abstract regarding the event. We tend to think that bringing a child into the world is a good thing, something to be celebrated. In fact, this assumption is challenged challenged by anti-natalism, an ethical stance which is increasingly popular. Anti-natalists argue that procreation is in itself morally wrong and should therefore be abandoned. A key voice in this debate is Professor David Benatar, whose book Better Never to Have Been advances the idea that coming into existence is always a serious harm. In this moot point event, okay, so it's the name of the event, Professor Benatar will interact with Christian ethicist Dr. Matthew Lee Anderson, discussing the arguments for and against anti-natalism and whether and how Christian faith addresses this most profound of human questions, whether we should continue to exist. A live Q&A session will follow the main discussion. So excited. I have signed up through Eventbrite. The event is free. If you want to be there, there's really not much time left to get, a spot. I don't really know. I'm assuming it's unlimited, the number of people that can attend, but I honestly have no idea. But yeah, it's very exciting. So I cannot wait for that. I will definitely have an update about this next episode. June 17th is International Anti-Procreation Day, which is really the first anti-natalist holiday, with the exception of Child Free Day, which has been around for a long, long time. It is the invention of a, believe it or not, Chicago-based anti-natalist group called the Advocacy of Anti-Procreation. I interviewed the founder of the Advocacy of Anti-Procreation on my podcast, Exploring Anti-Natalism podcast, a while back ago. And yeah, it's this, I'm blanking on exactly how many years it's been running now, but it's been running for quite a few years. And it's always a good time, and it's always a great excuse to do something anti-natalistic with your time and with your day. And it's a nice way to be able to, celebrate with your fellow anti-procreative peoples online. And so, yeah, I always look forward to June 17th every year and the event, and this year is no exception. June 20th, Lawrence Anton is having an anti-natalist meetup in person in London. So links below to the Facebook event. It is a free event. It is live in the flesh ability to meet not only Lawrence Anton, but other anti-natalists. So if you happen to be in London, definitely go make it to this event. And I'm just really excited that it's happening, and I'm so jealous. I wish I could come. June 23rd, the Japanese philosopher Masahiro Morioka is having an event. The event is called Is Birth Negation Held by Atheistic Anti-Natalists a Kind of Religious Belief? And that's 1330 to 1400 GMT, June 23rd, 2021, at the Global Philosophy of Religion Project online conference. There's some links to birmingham.ac.uk with more information. This is, again, a free event. I don't know a lot of other information about it, but I'm a big fan of Masahiro Morioka, and I don't really know what to make of this title of this conference, but I'm certainly excited to hear what he has to say. And yes, I have also signed up for that event, so I'm very much looking forward to going to that. And the next event is still pretty far in the future, I have to say, but I have been just saying a couple of words about it at least every episode of the Antenatal News podcast. On July 31st is the Child Free Conference event. And so definitely go, I've already got my ticket to that. Again, like all these events, it is free. And yeah, a lot of the guests have been announced at this point, and links below for more information, and just looks very, very interesting. And I'm excited to go to as many of these as I possibly can. And those that I can't, I hope that there will be people that out there that can, and will share some news about them with us. So very awesome. Well, in these episodes of the Antenatal News podcast, I do like to try, when possible, to break the antenatal news happenings down by country, especially because, there are times where news comes out of antenatal news comes out of a country that it just you rarely ever see. So it's nice to feature that. So there's a lot of countries this last month that had, each had little tiny pieces of their own antenatal news, not a ton to report on. So I'm going to kind of do them all in one section now. So there was a small bit of Arabic antinatalist news. There were two YouTube channels that I know of anyway that produced two separate videos on the subject of antinatalism: Telescope Gender and Moroccan Insanity. I cannot engage with either of these two videos. I have no idea really the strength of the content at all. But if you're able to, go check them out. Small bit of news from China, Anti-Natalism in China. Kiki's Lab, who's one of the only Chinese YouTube channels going, has produced a new video. So always want to shout out Kiki. There was a Korean article that at the very least mentions anti-natalism, and I'm always on the lookout. I have a special interest in Korean anti-natalism, and anti-natalism gets mentioned in Korean media rarely enough that even when it happens in small part, I get a little excited about it. So it was mentioned in dynews.co.kr. And I can't really say anything else about it besides that. There was also a article from Slovakia that mentions anti-natalism, and that surprised me a lot. I've never seen anything come out of Slovakia about anti-natalism. That doesn't mean that there hasn't been. I am just personally not familiar with anything else from Slovakia before this. There was also an article that mentions it in Greek. I can't say anything more about it, unfortunately. And Romania, there was also an article from Romania that mentions it. And yes, even with Google Translate and a couple other tools, I couldn't really make heads or tails of it. So if you have any information about it, I would certainly be curious. A small bit of news from Italy. There was, in fact, a new anti-natalist YouTuber from Italy called Nihilismo Anti-Natalista, and some kind of video about Schopenhauer, and looking forward to seeing if they produce more content. There have been a couple of Italian anti-natalist YouTubers in the past, but there hasn't been a new one in quite some time, so that was pretty cool. And now for a little bit of anti-natalist news from Russia. So there were at least 3 new Russian anti-natalism YouTube channels. One of them was XY, who we spoke about earlier. The other 2, I can't, are in Russian. The titles of the channels are in Russian. I have no idea, but links, on the website. And hopefully at least some of them can fit below in the description boxes, wherever you find this, to where you can find out more about those channels and certainly subscribe to everybody. There was also something interesting called Psychologist Svetlana Borasova. I'm probably saying that wrong. I apologize. And I didn't know what to make of this, but it seems to be a psychologist, a female psychologist, talking about the subject of anti-natalism, pretty clearly referencing, the Raphael Samuel case, not necessarily by name, but it was pretty clear what they were talking about. And, like a lot of things in today's episode, I'm really curious if anybody has any other news about this, or perhaps has a translation that they can provide or something. I really, maybe it's awful, and maybe it's fantastic. I really have no idea. But it was, it's kind of rare to see a psychologist comment on the subject, and certainly I think that's something that has all the potential in the world to, for more content to be of that type to be produced. So I just wanted to point it out. It's kind of an interesting anomaly of sorts. Okay, the next section is admittedly a little bit of a mess and kind of has 2 parts to it, but that is the section talking about the antenatal news, either in the language of Portuguese or Spanish. Antinatalismo Anti-Natalista. There were a number of articles, actually, this last month that were about antinatalism that either came out of somewhere in South America or Portugal. I do apologize that I don't quite know the origin of a lot of this content, honestly. One of those articles did talk about Zap to some degree. Had a bit of trouble translating them, so I can't really give much more details besides that. There were some good YouTube contents that were in Spanish or Portuguese this last month. I want to point out the channel Anti-Natalismo, somebody that's done a ton of translation of older antinatalist content, video content, translating it into Spanish or Portuguese. I apologize, I'm not really sure which. But this channel produces so much content, and I'm very grateful to this channel for existing and producing the content that it does. Wanted to also point out Alberto Gutt, who is an antinatalist poet, and actually a published antinatalist poet. I believe I've spoken to Alberto Gutt briefly in the past, just in comments, and seems like a really cool person. So they have finally put up a first video on their channel, and again, because of the language barrier, I can't really comment on the content of it, but I was just really excited to see Alberto Gutt producing a first video, so congratulations on that. There was a couple of other little things that you can find on the website that I'm not really going to talk about in any kind of detail here, but I did want to point out, I do collect this stuff every month and have for a really long time. But, as many of you may know, the word anti-natalism has sort of two different meanings and two different uses. I don't know that everybody is really aware of that. Like, it only really started to become used in the way that we're familiar with it in like 2006, with Theo's book, and also the release of Better Never to Have Been. So somewhere in the 2005, 2006 realm. But instances of the word anti-natalism have, as far as I know anyway, existed since the 50s or 60s. And it typically, that usage of the term, is sometimes applied to like the China one-child policy, or Argentina, which I'm about to say a little bit about now. It sometimes can refer to abortion practices or anything that isn't about, having kids and raising a family. And it seems like this meaning of the word, this sort of alternate but older, but more obscure usage of the term, I don't really see a lot of evidence of it being used in other countries, but definitely in South America, it seems to have retained this dual meaning, and it's used quite a lot by like religious groups to refer to child-free people, but also abortion and contraception, and just sort of some of these, not what we would think of as anti-natalism, but related subjects around the subject of preventing procreation. So there's always a ton of articles every month that use the term anti-natalism, anti-natalista, anti-natalismo in this fashion. But there seems to be a really big uptick in it, certainly this last month, because of what they're calling antinatalist policies in Argentina. You'll have to forgive me, I didn't do a ton of looking into what they're talking about specifically in a lot of these, but they are preserved for you on the website, so if you'd like to do your own investigation, I find the whole dual usage of this term and the fact that it seems to be sort of alive and well in South America to be really quite fascinating. Tons and tons of links, revolving around this, this use of anti-natalism, anti-natalista, anti-natalismo, with seemingly no connection to philosophical anti-natalism, either below or on the website. And yes, I hope that you enjoy looking at this very obscure material. Okay, now moving on to the antenatal news of Poland. So the biggest news from Poland this last month is actually sort of an update. I've been talking about this for at least 1 month now, is that the Teatro Polski, saying that wrong, I really apologize, has premiered their anti-natalist interpretation of Moliere's Don Juan. Yes, this is an actual theater production of Don Juan that has been heavily influenced by the subject of anti-natalism. What a bizarre world we live in. Like, this is not something I would ever have expected to see. So I actually thought it had already premiered. Shows what I know. But no, it actually premiered for the first time on May 29th of last month. And apparently it's streamed live on something called VOD, V-O-D. I couldn't get it to work. I don't know of anybody that was able to get it to work or that even tried, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't, I have no more real information about any of this. I have some links to articles, couldn't really get them to translate properly. I desperately want to see this. And I would desperately love to know more about it. I mean, it's just absolutely fascinating to me that this exists. So if anybody knows how I can see it, and if anybody has any information about it that they would like to share with me, I am all ears. Please, please, please educate me on this just fascinating anomaly of a thing that has taken place in Poland. There was one article in Polish about the subject of anti-natalism. I'm not even going to begin to try to say the name of it. Link below to that. And there was also one video. Don't see as a lot of... I know of quite a number of Polish anti-natalists and ethalists that produce video content, and some of them have produced videos in Polish. But I mean, I it's not that common, I think, to see a lot of video content about the subject of anti-natalism in Polish. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't think it's that common. So there was one that actually did get quite a number of views, Sizmon Moe, don't know how to say it, but yeah, I mean, it seems to have gone over rather well, so that's always a nice thing. So would love to see a translation of that at some point. Wish I could say more, but I can't, but glad to see that. Okay, and our final section for this month's episode is the anti-natal news of Japan. So much news from Japan. First off, lots of new Japanese anti-natalist videos. Not quite as many, actually, I have to say, as in the previous few months. But, hey, I'm not complaining. Some good stuff in there. Some stuff I wish I could engage with. Somebody that produced a Japanese anti-natalist t-shirt, which I would absolutely love to get my hands on. Not really too surprisingly, though, most of the anti-natal news for May 2021 was the work of Masahiro Morioka, who is a professor that is very prolific in so many subjects. Again, one of my previous guests from the Exploring Anti-Natalism podcast, a professor at Waseda University, somebody who is not an anti-natalist, but is absolutely and gloriously obsessed with the subject of anti-natalism. Really, really nice person. And as just every month, just puts us all to shame with how much content he produces around the subject. So really appreciate what Masahiro does. So Masahiro actually released 2 new essays this month around the subject of anti-natalism. The first is What is Anti-Natalism? Definition, History, and Categories. I did have the good fortune of reading some of this ahead of time before it was released, which I was very grateful to have had a chance to do. It's really, really good. Opens a lot of really interesting insight, especially to some of the stuff that's existed in Japan, and gives a nice sort of overview of modern anti-natalist history. So really, really love that. Highly recommend it. The next one is What is Birth Affirmation? The meaning of What is birth affirmation? The meaning of saying yes to having been born. You can find this on ResearchGate. Here is the abstract. In this paper, the concept of birth affirmation is clarified in both the psychological dimension and the philosophical dimension. In the psychological dimension, we propose 2 interpretations. 1, possible world interpretation. Even if I could imagine a possible world in which my ideal was realized or my grave suffering were resolved, I would never think at the bottom of my heart that it would have been better never to have been to that possible world. 2, anti-natalistic interpretation. I would never think at the bottom of my heart that it would have been better not to have been born. In the philosophical dimension, we propose the following interpretation. The comparison of betterness or worseness between the actual world and a possible world, and between my having been born and my not having been born, should be impossible. In the final part of this paper, the differences from other related concepts and frequently asked questions are discussed. So I have to admit, I have not gotten a chance to read this paper yet. Masahiro very much has his own ideas about antinatalism. And some of them I don't agree with, regardless of whether I agree with them or not. I find them really fascinating. And again, for somebody who is not an antinatalist, he has incredible interest in the subject that I find very charming, to be perfectly honest with you. So moving on, this is not it. There were at least 2 articles, 3 actually, I think, separate articles about Masahiro Morioka's anti-natalism. He is, really becoming quite famous. He's already quite famous for other subjects, but really becoming quite famous for speaking on the subject of anti-natalism in Japan. And one of these articles appears to be an interview. Again, I had a little bit of trouble with them, so I could be a bit wrong about that. Again, as I've said with many things this episode, if you have more information about it, let me know. But one of the biggest things to happen was that there was a incredible, 50 some odd minute television presentation on the subject of anti-natalism in Japan by Amoeba Prime 2 TV. And this thing was extraordinary. I mean, obviously because of the language barrier, I have no idea, what was really said, but Masahiro was a guest. It actually included an appearance by another Japanese antinatalist YouTuber that I'm familiar with. I unfortunately don't know this person's name, but link below to their channel. Big shout out to them, subscribe to them. From all, information that I have been able to receive about the episode, Masahiro did really, really well, and the other antinatalists involved did really well. It was kind of a huge panel, at times at least, of a lot of different people talking about the subject. This is, as far as anybody knows, the very first time that the subject of antinatalism has been discussed on television in Japan. It's not the first time globally, but certainly it seems in Japan. And I'm so hoping that eventually there will be an English translation of the video. I've watched the entire video, regardless of whether I can understand it or not. And it's just, it's like a really high quality production. And it's, regardless of language barrier or not, it's just great to be able to see something like this. So thank you to everybody that made this happen in any way, shape, or form. And congratulations to everybody that was involved. Congratulations to Masahiro for this extraordinary television appearance. I already talked about his upcoming event in June. So, information about that is on the website and hopefully in the description as well. This is not per se a piece of Masahiro Morioka news, but I wouldn't have known about it had it not been for Masahiro tweeting about it. He's very active on Twitter. Emil Chiron, one of his books, The Trouble with Being Born, got a new translation. Japanese translation, and has been published in Japan and is available now. So I will link to Masahiro's tweet in which you can see the older version and the newer version. Very, very cool. Always nice to see more anti-natalist content of old getting new translations and becoming, more widely available in more countries. And I think, especially, Japan really has increasingly, especially the last 2 years, shown a huge uptick, in its interest in anti-natalism. And so, I think as many, older anti-natalist works that can become available for people, the better. Very exciting to see. But the last thing I will talk about quickly is a piece of antinatalist anime news. It seems like every episode now we at least have some antinatalist anime news, which does warm the cockles of my black little heart. So a YouTube channel by the name of Wisecrack, who has 3 million subscribers, by the way, did a video called Should We Cease to Exist? A Philosopher Responds to Attack on Titan. So yeah, I think last episode we talked about several different videos by several different YouTube channels that are looking at a character within the anime Attack on Titan who is an anti-natalist, and this person Wisecrack did a great job, honestly, with this video. It was really well done. He obviously knew a lot about the subject of antinatalism going in, and it was a very charitable, reasonable, articulate response. And yeah, it was a great video. Mark J. Maharaj did his own response to Wisecrack's video, which was also great. So I highly recommend you go check that out. Please subscribe. And that concludes the antenatal news for the month of May 2021. I so hope that you've enjoyed. And so concludes another episode of the Anti-Natal News Podcast. You can find me on the YouTube channel Forever Wolf Films and keep up with my daily anti-natalist news updates at Anti-Natal News on Twitter. The Anti-Natal News Podcast can be listened to on the Anti-Natalism International YouTube channel, as well as Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many other platforms. If you have any antenatal news that you would like to submit to the show, have information about a piece of news that has already been reported on, or maybe know of some important news stories that I may have missed, don't hesitate to email me at antinatalnews@gmail.com. Special thanks to Anugra for the Antenatal News logo and to AK Hunter for the theme music. See you next month, everyone. All the best, and bye for now.